As states move forward from coronavirus lockdowns, leaders keep saying some specific things.
When you're in public, please consider wearing a mask when you're in enclosed spaces. There is nothing weak about it. It is simply being responsible.
A Jacksonville leader serving in the state Senate joins us and amplifies that message while calling for more testing in our area. Plus, how is Edward Waters College managing through the crisis? President Zachary Faison offers words of encouragement and describes his hope for the fall and beyond. And Congressman Ted Yoho answering the critics about his comments on herd immunity on This Week in Jacksonville. Thank you so much for joining us. Jacksonville's own Audrey Gibson is with us today. So, Senator, thank you for coming in. And by the way, so you told me that your father is doing well. How old's your dad?
91. Yes.
That's so good to hear.
It is.
As we go through this crisis and everything, let's start with the important things. How's your family? I mean, that's where I wanted to go there. So at the beginning of this month, it seemed pretty clear that coronavirus has had a big impact in the African-American community, and specifically when we're talking about Duval County, which you know so well. So I looked up some numbers here, and right now, we're seeing on the state website, 39% of the cases in Duval County are among African-Americans. Why do you think that's happening?
I'm not quite sure. One reason that I point out a lot is health disparities. And so diabetes, high blood pressure are two of the underlying conditions that usually are coexisting in African Americans.
And make you more susceptible to something like this virus, as I understand it. Is that right?
Yes, it can if you don't protect yourself. And so as you mentioned, I've been raising a ruckus about people wearing masks. Even in the grocery store, I just say, where's your mask? Because it's protection. If you don't care about other people, care about yourself and wear the mask. It's so critical.
Well, and one of the things that I would bring up, we see it whether it's the federal news conferences that we have, whether it's at the local level, whether it's the state level. Leaders like you continue to say, wear your mask in public, socially distance. Why keep saying that? Are people not getting it? Are they not paying attention?
I think people are letting their guard down just because they hear the word reopen.
Right.
But reopen means that now you're not under a stay-at-home order, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't protect yourself. And so I keep encouraging people to do that because we really don't know where we are in terms of true numbers. We have estimates. I think the dashboard at least gives us a glimpse. The health department dashboard at least gives us a glimpse. But we don't know because the more you test, the more cases you find. And so some people are asymptomatic. So we just need to protect ourselves.
So one of the things that Mayor Curry had mentioned this week is, yeah, we're on this path. We see the trend as positive. We're going to take these next steps in this phase 1 reopening, but we're going to continue testing and we want more testing. Do you feel like that's the right approach? We need more testing?
Oh, absolutely. We've under-tested, not just in Duval County, but across this state. When you consider the population and the number of people that have been tested in total, it's very small. And so it is important to know whether you're negative or positive, whether or not you're, well, if you are, you know, if you're symptomatic, but
sure.
If you're not symptomatic, you want to know that because you can yourself spread the virus.
So help me with the number if you've got it, but so we're more than 21 million people in Florida, is that right?
Yes.
So do we need 21 million tests? Should everyone get tested no matter what? Or is there a certain threshold where, yeah, I do have some symptoms? Because as you just mentioned, as you were just talking about with our flow director, even if you're asymptomatic, you may be carrying this or transmitting this.
Right. And it's funny you should ask because I asked Dr. Haley on a call with UF Health that we did earlier this week. All the days are running together.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
And I asked him, what is sufficient testing? What's the sampling that we should have in the state or in Duval County, for example? And he said we should be doing 5,000 tests a day. He said it's a big number.
Yeah.
But we need to reach for it and not just keep going as if the virus doesn't exist. And so it gives you a better idea of what's happening even in your own community.
Right. And so I guess along the lines of the first part of the question, then are we saying, yeah, everyone should get tested?
I don't believe that it's everyone, but certainly we can increase our numbers. And it's one of the issues that I have in Duval, because I don't see enough testing, particularly in minority community. It's like a onesies. So we do Cougar Park, we close Cougar Park, and then we open Legends, and what?
Yeah, so what would be a good solution there? Because as we talked about before our interview today, there's some federal money that's going to come back. The mayor had talked about, hey, we've got some money, and so we want to increase testing. How do we get it into those areas that really need it? And maybe the underserved populations who can't drive to Lot J and that sort of thing.
And so, I mean, we all knew once the CARES Act was passed and signed into law that there was money in the pot for testing, and that Jacksonville, because of its population, got part of the, it's almost half. The state got some, and then those cities and counties with populations over 500,000 got a share also. And so I understand that the city just maybe 3 weeks now ago passed a bill that included, I believe, $30 million in it for testing. Well, where's it being spent? Surely not just Cougar Park and now Legends. It's not possible. And so I had a discussion with someone before about communities are different too, right? Communities within communities are different. And it's not far-fetched, as spread out as Duval County is, to have a Legends or to have somewhere over in 33218 or 32209. It's not unreachable to do that, and we should want to do it, and we should want to do it simultaneously, not onesies.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. I know that that we're going to continue talking about this issue because it's not going away. And certainly you and I think everybody else in leadership and elected to an office says, let's do it the right way so that people are safe. Senator, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for taking the time today.
Thank you for having me and asking about my dad.
Yeah, love that hearing that your dad is doing well. All right, so stay with us. Continuing our conversations with the presidents at institutions of higher learning in our area. We are speaking today with Dr. Zachary Faison, the president and CEO of Edward Waters College. That's next on This Week in Jacksonville.
Growing up in a community like Green Cove Springs shapes how you see the world. It makes you a better neighbor and a better listener. This town also gave me an appreciation for the people in our community, which is why Harrell & Harrell is focused on helping others in need. If you've been in an accident, you don't have to recover alone. We're with you. Harrell & Harrell. Call us, 251-1111. Don't settle for less than you deserve.
Rely on the Trust Index. It's true means it passed the test and we can back it up. Not true means it's fake. Don't trust it. And be careful means not entirely right or wrong, but it could be risky. The Trust Index. Only on News 4 Jax.
Even in a time filled with unknowns, one thing is for certain. This is not the first storm we've weathered together. And while this storm may look different, JEA's commitment to the community remains the same. Providing reliable energy, safe water, and right now, financial relief for those who need it. Because as your neighbors, friends, and family, we know the importance of staying connected to what matters most. To connect with us, visit JEA.com.
Your industry markets cigarettes even though there's lots of scientific evidence they're harmful.
I disagree. I say the evidence is not conclusive.
The Surgeon General says smoking may cause everything from lung cancer to heart disease.
Well, in life you have to take some risks. Am I right?
YOLO! Tobacco is no joke. It's so deadly they need you to replace dying customers. Learn more at thefactsnow.com.
When Visible set out to create the future of phone service, we tossed the stuff that wasn't working. Stuff like footlong bills and fees from nowhere, time-wasting stores, misleading ads, unhelpful help centers. And save the stuff that was working, like Verizon's 4G LTE network, plus unlimited data, messages, and minutes. It's a simple system. Trim the bad. Make the good better and way cheaper. Meet Visible. Unlimited data on Verizon's 4G LTE network. Just $25 for your first month. Join us at Visible.com.
This wasn't the best time for our washer to call it quits. But this one can clean, sanitize, and steam. It's what we've been wanting anyway. Shop Lowe's and save on the Samsung laundry pair and get free delivery. Discover what's possible at Lowe's.com.
My son, he has grew up with Richard Nunn, and he is in college now. When he was a smaller child, he wanted to be Richard Nunn. So my son said, we're getting a weather station for Christmas. So we got him a weather station, and for several months, he was watching weather every day, comparing your weather to his weather. And how'd I do? You did great. Okay, good. He was a little behind on 8 ball, but he was doing good.
You're watching This Week in Jacksonville with Kent Justice.
Dr. A. Zachary Faison is president and CEO at Edward Waters College. This school is a local treasure as an historically black college. I asked Dr. Faison about EWC and how it's weathering the coronavirus crisis.
I'm excited to be able to share that EWC is strong and things we're managing through the pandemic relatively well. Right now, our students, obviously our semester ended on the 8th of May. And so right now, all of our faculty and staff are still telecommuting, working remotely. We anticipate being able to bring some of our senior leadership back physically on the campus, health and safety conditions permitting, probably around the 1st of June. And then from there, we're looking at probably around the 15th of June, middle of next month, when we'll welcome back our other staff that would normally be here during the summer. Again, we're trying to make sure that we kind of do this in the same accordance as the state and the city kind of open things back up as well.
Yeah. Are you hearing concerns from students or staff? Because obviously when you got faculty members who might be pushing into that more at risk range, I mean, they're just as important as your students, right?
Yes. Well, I will tell you what we've done, and we did this about 2 or 3 weeks ago. We established what we call our COVID CORE. The acronym is CORE. It's for Campus Operations Reengineering Task Force, because we know that this is going to be an entirely new normal for our campus. And that task force really consists of our senior leadership, our faculty, our staff, our students. So it really, is a cross section of our academic community. And so all of those members of our community are going to give voice to what this new normal looks like. And so, of course, we want to be able to continue our instruction, but the health and safety of our students, faculty, and staff is always our most paramount concern.
One of the things I've seen is that Congress in particular has said, hey, we need to send some money towards our schools to try and help out. Where have things been financially for Edward Waters College? Because this is a tough time for everybody.
Yeah, it has been. But fortunately, as you mentioned, EWC was the recipient of some CARES Act funding, which went to all colleges and universities. We were the recipients of about $1.3 million, and 50% of that was stipulated to go directly to support student needs. So as of the 4th of May, we have distributed right at about $660,000 of that $680,000 to over 300 Edward Waters College students. And so it was certainly something that our students needed and that we needed. And then in addition to that, there was about $575 million that was set aside for historically black colleges and universities. And of that portion, EWC received about $2.3 million. And that's going to help us to really kind of overcome some of the revenue losses that we did suffer during the spring to the pandemic. There were some costs that we had to encumber to upgrade our learning management systems as we transitioned to online learning. Of course, there were also some costs. We had a lot of students as we transitioned to online that did not have the technology to be able to really navigate an online instructional kind of modality. So EWC purchased, for example, over 700 laptop computers for students and sent those out to students. We also had some revenue losses due to on-campus housing and room and board. And so, all of these dollars are going to help us to be able to sustain as we continue to navigate our way through the pandemic.
Not that you have a crystal ball, but what's your forecast for this next year? Do you think enrollment stays the same? Do you lose some students because of this? Or is there a possibility that it even increases?
Yeah, we're cautiously optimistic. I will tell you, before we were coming into the pandemic, and as we sit here today, EWC was really having a record level of interest in terms of students that were particularly considering coming to Edward Waters College. As we sit here today, we have over almost 5,300 applications, which is up about 63%. We had about 43% more students that had been accepted to our institution. And so that boded very, very well pre-COVID. So we're cautiously optimistic, but we are bracing for probably anywhere between a 10 to 20% decrease in enrollment. Again, we're going to be working with all reckless abandon to not realize that. But I think the reality is that, we probably can expect that we'll have some diminution in terms of overall enrollment numbers. And so we've got models that we're preparing at 10%, at 15%, even up to 20% in terms of how we're going to manage that. But again, we're cautiously optimistic and very hopeful because our data pre-COVID was extremely voted extremely well for our institution in terms of enrollment.
It almost doesn't matter the size of the school across America. There's belt tightening going on, and that impacts the sports programs at certainly mid-major schools, even smaller schools. Are there sports who might be on the chopping block because you just can't afford them anymore?
No, we don't anticipate that at all. One of the unique things about EWC, and I've shared this with some of my colleagues as presidents, our athletic program is actually a moneymaker at EWC. Probably almost a third of our student body of about 900 some odd students are student athletes. So in our business model, having our student athletes as a part of our academic community is absolutely essential. So at this point, we don't anticipate having to cut any athletic programs. As a matter of fact, we're looking to see how we can invest more in our student athletes and our programs to help buttress our total institutional enrollment.
Do you feel like you're getting the support of other community members and the leadership here in Northeast, specifically in Jacksonville?
Absolutely. I mean, everyone from our congresspersons to our mayor, to our state delegation, Senator Gibson and Representative Davis, and just everyone, our city council leadership, everyone really, I think, during this pandemic has really pulled together to really support all the citizens in our community. And of course, Edward Waters and its historic place in this community as Jacksonville's only historically black college or university. So there's really a time that I think our entire community has pulled together, and certainly EWC has been the recipient of that as well.
Really enjoyed the visit there with Dr. Faison. All right, coming up, we met him 8 years ago as an unlikely challenger for Congress out of Gainesville. Now, U.S. Representative Ted Yoho is wrapping up his self-imposed term limit. Rep for Clay, Putnam, Alachua counties, and more next on This Week in Jacksonville.
Jacksonville, you voted. Now it's time to check out all the winners of Jack's Best. Head to newsforjax.com/JacksBest to see who you picked as the best in every category. Presented by Visit Jacksonville.
When tomorrow feels uncertain, trust in your local news team is more important than ever. And its relentless dedication earning News 4 Jax 4 prestigious Edward R. Murrow Awards, including Overall Station Excellence and News4Jax.com Best Website. And closer to home, Florida broadcasters honoring News 4 Jax with 10 first place awards, including Station of the Year and Best Website. News 4 Jax on Channel 4, the local station.
You may not see them, but your itchy eyes know they're out there. Thousands of allergens in each cubic yard of air. No wonder you rub your eyes hundreds of times a day. But now, relief is just one drop away. Introducing Pataday. Full prescription strength Pataday works right in your eyes, right on the cells that make them itch. Fast. Just one drop once a day means relief that lasts all day. So turn your day into a Pataday. Now get Pataday without a prescription. Everywhere.
Getting your air ducts thoroughly cleaned takes the trained professionals at Stanley Steamer using the most powerful equipment to get the most powerful results. Our equipment goes deep inside your ducts, removing years of dirt, pet hair, allergens, even dust mites. Unlike other air duct cleaning companies, Stanley Steamer cleans your entire system. Just look at how much dirt can be removed. Call today for a free inspection and save $50 on a cleaning.
Stanley Steamer gets your home cleaner. Tough times always seem to get harder. You applied for Social Security, but were denied. Don't give up. Fight for what you deserve. Farah and Farah, protecting you and your family since 1979.
Renovation is underway at Honda of the Avenues, so pardon our dust while we save you money. Get construction savings when you drive home a new Honda Accord for just $169 a month. Just $169 a month. At Honda of the Avenues, the Honda Giant.
If you get your news on Facebook, important local stories could get lost in the timeline. Don't let Facebook decide what news you see. Stay connected with News4Jax on Facebook Messenger and get the latest coronavirus updates directly to your inbox. Go to the News4Jax page, tap the message button, then choose coronavirus. News4Jax will DM you a personalized news feed every day. Get the news you need without ever touching the timeline. Moving forward together with News4Jax on Facebook Messenger.
How's the nursery?
The nursery's doing well. We're staying very busy.
You really key on that 7-day this time of the year especially.
It helps you plan your work schedule and everything else. So weather's critical to us.
Why do you trust the Weather Authority?
First of all, we watch the other weather channels too, but y'all seem to be the best.
Thank you.
We just trust y'all more than anyone else.
You're watching This Week in Jacksonville on Channel 4.
Congress has passed close to $3 trillion in coronavirus relief bills over the past 2 months. While more aid may or may not be on the way from Capitol Hill, a local congressman says reopening in a safe and effective manner, that is the key. I spoke this week with Representative Ted Yoho from Gainesville.
I think that's paramount that we do that. And I think to answer your first question, I think Governor DeSantis has done a very good job. And I could go prior to when President Trump called it a national emergency. I would have taken a different route, but we're here. And I think Governor DeSantis has done a very good job of reopening the economy. In fact, we sent him a letter about a week before that and just thanked him for his efforts. You know, obviously he saved lives and kept people out of the hospital, but now it's time to focus on the economy, and we can do that without jeopardizing individuals' health.
Yeah, there's been criticism of the governor.
Sure.
There's been criticism of the mayor in Jacksonville about opening beaches too soon. Lots of second guessing going on. I saw that you were criticized over the weekend not wearing a mask near the Capitol or that sort of thing. Well, how do you respond to folks who have gotten into that I'm pointing fingers in this time of crisis?
Other people have come out with these research articles, and they talk about herd immunity in the human population. And that just means you're not treating people like farm animals, but you have a certain amount of the population that once they get exposed, you get pretty much resistance in your whole population. And that's usually around 60-70% of the people. So again, Governor DeSantis is getting criticized, but when you look at our exposure rate, our cases, and the death rate, and compared that to New York, where Governor Cuomo is getting praises, and they've got the worst results in the nation, you know, it just shows you how skewed the media can be. And that's why it's so important for people like you that we, the people, rely on accurate reporting. You know, it's like the old dragnet. Just the facts, ma'am, just the facts. You know, and just put that out and let people understand that instead of the political hype that we see so often that really divides us as a nation.
One of the things recently, just this last week, House passed this new stimulus plan, $3 trillion or what have you. But clearly there's not a lot of bipartisan support here. How do you stand on that? And it sounds like it's not even going to get through the Senate, right?
It won't get through the Senate. And again, we went up to Washington when I first went up there, and we wanted purity of purpose. If we're going to do something for the COVID-19 and stimulate the economy, focus strictly on that. You know, don't be putting election laws in there. Don't be putting the stuff in there to fund the New York Opera or the Kennedy Center. You know, stick to the purpose of the bill. You know, between that bill, the previous bill, which was a little over $3 trillion, and then keep in mind the Fed has printed $4 trillion. That's $10 trillion we've added to our debt that you and I will never pay, but it's going to be on the backs of generations to come, and it's mismanagement of Washington.
So one of the things that being managed right now is colleges, the state university system here in Florida saying, how are we going to reopen?
Exactly.
Last week, we heard President Kent Fox there at UF say, we're working on this, and we have to prepare because these students are coming back whether we want them to or not.
Right.
50,000 or more coming back to Santa Fe College, University of Florida. How do you feel about the safety in Gainesville with lots of people coming back and, you know, maybe trying to do some things to prevent the disease from spreading?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I talked to Dr. Fox, and you've got the #7 university in the whole United States. You've got Santa Fe College, the #1 college in all of the United States, and there's a big draw for students wanting to go there. When we talked to him, he goes, I don't know if I allow summer enrollment, fall enrollment. What do we do for the football season? Do we allow people to enroll? Are they going to be able to rent apartments and move in? So these are all things that are consequences of a decision made. And so I think, again, to answer one of your previous questions, to help people to get the economy going is open it up as soon as you can. Educating people of what a virus does. People are going to get exposed to it, and you'll see a bump in cases. So does that mean that we should attack the people that made these decisions, or understand that 98% of the people that get infected with this are going to be fine? You know, and you know, take it very serious. And again, if you have underlying conditions, you might want to isolate yourself. But to isolate a population, you'll flatten the curve, but you're going to prolong the duration. And you've got to weigh, how long do I want to carry this out? You know, what happens to the University of Florida, their football season, if all these restaurants around that are dependent on that season, and they can't have games and they go out of business? How does that hurt people?
Yeah, we've watched how the coronavirus is making big changes in every aspect of our lives. Now it could change the way that you vote for elected officials. This summer, Florida holds a primary. And then in November, the country will vote in the presidential election. Now, elections officials are still trying to figure out how we are going to cast our ballots later this year.
We're still not sure what type of an election we're going to hold. I don't suspect it'll be all mail, but that changes. That's a game changer for us if it is.
Duval County Supervisor of Elections Mike Hogan there. He says that he and others are awaiting word from the governor on how to proceed, but they've submitted ideas such as expanding early voting and opening election centers instead of individual precincts. Most election officials say that they don't want to see voting by mail as the only option, but they do hope more people will take advantage of it this year. All right, so lots of discussion about the case of Ahmaud Arbery and the killing of that young man in Brunswick, Georgia. Next week, Congressman Buddy Carter joins us, and we're going to get his thoughts on that tragedy and the months between the shooting and any arrests that have happened. This Week in Jacksonville airs each Sunday morning at this time. We thank you for joining us. I'm Cat Justice. You can also watch on air on Channel 4 and the CW17 and online at news4jax.com.
See why every day more people are choosing News 4 Jax, Northeast Florida and South Georgia's #1 source for local news.